Before we dive in, I've got something exciting to share. If you're craving consistent, aligned coaching clients and you want to build a spacious life-first business, my next free live masterclass is happening on September the 18th. It's called the Magnetic Offer Formula, and I'll be showing you the exact blueprint to make your coaching offer irresistible so you can market and sell with ease. Seats are limited, so click on the link in the show notes or head to leoniebusinesscoach.com and hit the banner at the top of the page to save your spot now. If you're a solopreneur coach, the last thing you want to do is waste time on work that doesn't actually move the needle in your business, like chasing your tail with marketing tactics, trying every new shiny tip you hear from the social media gurus, only to end up feeling burnt out, frustrated, and wondering why it all feels so hard. And here's the real honest truth. There isn't one magic silver bullet like going viral on Instagram that's going to solve all your marketing challenges. What you do need is a clear, effective, and focused plan that you can actually stick to. And that's exactly what I'm sharing today. I'm breaking down the 5 steps to create a simple, sustainable marketing plan that actually brings in coaching clients without burning you out. So listen in, because by the end of this episode, I really want you to leave feeling empowered and excited to move the needle in your coaching business with a clear, simple marketing plan. Welcome to the Life First Coaching Business podcast, where ambitious, purpose-led coaches trade hustle and burnout for simplicity, freedom, and clients who light them up. I'm Leonie, ex-architect and business owner turned business coach. I'm also a mama, a foodie, and a travel lover, and just a little bit obsessed with online business strategy. If you're craving a business that feels spacious, joyful, and actually fun, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll be diving into the strategies, the systems, and the mindset you need to make your coaching business work for you. So let's dive in. Hello, welcome to today's episode. So the first thing I want to talk to you about when it comes to creating your marketing plan, I'm going to go through the 5 steps that you want to follow. But the first thing I want you to visualize is how your marketing works in 3 phases. So there's a phase 1 where you're attracting people in to know about your business. And you might have heard this being called top of funnel. And then phase 2 is where you're nurturing those people, you're growing trust, you're making that connection with them, you're helping shift their mindset to see your coaching as their solution. And then the last part, the 3rd phase, is when you are selling to them, you're inviting them into your offer, and you're converting them into a client. So essentially, you've got those 3 phases to your business. Now, often what a lot of coaches who come to me feeling frustrated or burnt out or overwhelmed have done is they might have worked on that bottom piece of the funnel in terms of creating an offer, and they've done that, and then they've moved on to the top section, the first section. They're doing lots of work to try and attract people into their business, and they're creating all those shiny assets that you think you need when you're starting a business, like a website and a brand shoot and the perfect social media strategy. And they're feeling stuck because they're wondering, well, I'm putting all this work into getting visible and getting my business out there, but it feels very confusing. I'm not really sure what I should be focused on. And it feels like this big gap to go from where they are to consistently signing clients, because they're not able to put that whole plan together and have all the pieces working nicely together. So if that's you, or maybe you're the coach who's right at the start and you don't want to end up in this situation, you want to create that system for yourself, your marketing and sales engine from the start. Here's how to focus on it. That piece at the bottom where you're creating your offer and you're getting that conversion piece working needs a bit more work than what is often expected. It's not just about creating a nice page on your website where you're pressing up a number of sessions. It's about getting really clear on how that offer becomes irresistible to your specific ideal client. And it's about understanding what they need to know in order to see that as their solution and to be ready to say yes to it and to buy. So start there. That is step number 1. Your marketing plan doesn't start with content ideas or thinking about social media platforms. It starts with your offer. This is what you're selling, and that's what you're leading people towards. And when you're really clear on that and you know what needs to happen to lead people into it and to get them ready to say yes, that's when all those other pieces start to fall into place for the nurture section and the attract section of your marketing plan or your marketing funnel. So it's really important to nail that bottom piece of the funnel first and make sure you've got the strategy for that section dialed in. And often what coaches are doing is they're doing that step, but they're not doing it thoroughly enough. And then they're moving on to the marketing tactics to attract people in. And that section in the middle for nurture, they're giving lots of value, they're giving lots of tips, but they're not doing the right mindset shifting work to help people see the offer as the solution. And then they don't have the offer dialed in really well, knowing how to convert people, how to sell and convert. So start there, start with that bottom piece. That's what I really focus on with my clients as the first stage in the journey. And I do often hear people say, I've already got my offer created, but what I need now is to grow my audience. But when we dig into it, actually there's still work to be done on that offer, on refining it, on getting it really working and converting, and then moving on to the first step. So that's step number one, is you really want to get clear on your offer. Make sure it's a transformation focused offer. You're not selling coaching sessions, you're selling a transformation, and you really want to package up your expertise, your skills, your passions into an offer that really clearly speaks to your ideal client. And that leads us nicely onto step number two, which is defining your message. So message and offer really work together. I see them almost as one thing. And your message is the heartbeat of your marketing. It's what covers everything you communicate to your ideal client, what transformation you're promising, and how your ideal clients see your offer as the solution to their struggles and the pathway and the opportunity to get to their desired stage or their desired transformation on the other side of that struggle. Things that you really want to be thinking about when you're coming up with your messaging is exactly what your ideal clients are thinking, how they're talking about it, the thoughts that are going through their head. So it's not about making assumptions and projecting what you think they need to hear. It's about really digging into the reality of that and doing the right work to find out exactly what they're thinking and not making assumptions. So understanding your specific ideal client inside out. And obviously the first step to that is getting clear on who your ideal client is. So clear messaging that follows the 4 stages that I talk about in my ACEs framework. So attract what they need to hear from you to pay attention and think, that's me, I need to lean in here and listen. Stage 2 is connect. So the C is connection. So when they're feeling an emotional connection to what you're saying, when they're really seeing themselves in the way that you're talking about their problems and their desires. And then E is enlighten. This is when you start to shift their mindset around the solution to their problem and them suddenly thinking, oh, that's why I'm stuck, or that's why I've been experiencing these problems, because maybe they've been trying the wrong things, or maybe they've been believing the wrong things about their solution. And this is really the stage where you're going to start talking about your offer and showing them why it's a new opportunity, why it will lead them to their desired state, that transformation they're looking for. And then S is the sell part. So this is around selling your offer, inviting people into it, and getting that yes on the other side. So once you're covering those 4 bases in your messaging, that's when you know it can really work. And the way to do that is to get clear on what you're leading people into, so that then you can work backwards and understand what that messaging needs to be doing for you and how it helps you stand out, differentiate yourself in the noisy market, and cut through the noise to get to the heart of what your specific ideal client is thinking and believing and worrying about, what's keeping them up at night and all those things. So really compelling, potent messaging is your step number 2. And then step number 3 is designing your client journey. So here's where a lot of coaches go wrong. They have scattergun energy when it comes to marketing. So they're thinking, well, I need to grow my social media. And often what it looks like is setting a target for a number of times of posting per week. So I must post 5 times per week. And then the focus just becomes on ticking off these 5 posts, putting pressure on yourself to show up a certain number of times and feeling like, oh, this just feels like a grind because I'm trying to think of things to say every day. I don't really know what to say, and it just feels like a bit of a grind. And what you really want to be focused on is thinking clearly about that client journey and how you're then attracting, nurturing, and selling. And you want to be thinking about 1 to 2 really focused ways you're going through each of those phases. So for attracting, it might be that you have short form content on your Instagram, particularly Reels are the best short form content for getting new reach. You might have a freebie that you're using to grow your email list. You might be going to networking events if you're looking to do things more in person. You might be appearing on other people's podcasts. So some specific ways that you are looking to get your business in front of new people. And if you choose 1 or 2 of those and really focus in on them, that is much better than having that scattergun approach. And when you marry that in with the messaging that you've got clear on, you can make sure you're covering that attract phase in your messaging with that attract phase of your client journey. Then thinking about how you're going to nurture those clients. So you've got through the messaging task, you know what they need to hear. So now it's about thinking, okay, where am I going to get that message in front of them, that piece of the puzzle where they are growing that know, like, and trust, and they're starting to see my offer as their solution. Again, you can do that on social media with your longer form content or things like carousels where people are paying attention for longer, talking head videos, things like that. Maybe you write blogs, maybe you might have a newsletter or an email sequence that goes out after people have downloaded a freebie, and that would include that kind of content. Maybe you've got YouTube videos or a podcast, something where you're sharing that longer form content. Now, if you're in the really early stages of your business, this can be really active. This might look like conversations with people. It doesn't have to all be in content. And this is a really great way then to get feedback as well. So if you're maybe offering free coaching sessions or you are having DM conversations or those discovery calls, those are really great places to focus on that nurture piece and getting real-time feedback. So choose 1 or 2 things that you're really going to focus on in your business there for nurturing people, whether it's long-form content on Instagram, whether it's emails, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube blog post, whatever it looks like for you. And you really want to be thinking about what's the kind of content you love to create and what's the kind of content that your ideal client likes to consume. Now, the key here with the nurture piece is you are not looking to be reinventing the wheel, thinking this needs to be new and fresh every single week. You could really look at this as creating a series of really strategic nurture content that you can keep driving people to again and again. So if those are blog posts that live on your website, if they're videos that are on YouTube, if they're emails that get sent out automatically when someone joins your list, you're not having to reinvent the wheel all the time. You're just continually driving people to that same content, or you're repurposing it again and again to continue to reinforce that message and repeat that message. So that's stage 3. And then the third part of that journey is the sell section. So you want to be thinking about, okay, where am I inviting people in? How am I selling to them? That could look like discovery calls. It could look like having conversations in the DMs. It could look like inviting them in with calls to action in your email. Now, you want to think about what kind of support are people going to need to be ready to buy your offer. If it's high ticket one-on-one coaching, then a discovery call is most likely going to be your best option. Pick something that works well for your offer. So again, that's why we want to be getting clear on the offer first, so that then you can choose the right selling method and have a really clear strategy for that selling. And then it's about inviting people onto that next step from the nurture step. So you're attracting them in, you're driving them to that nurture content, and then you're making the invite for the sales event or conversion event, which might be a discovery call. So that's designing your client pathway. There's 3 phases to it, and you want to be focused on 1 or 2 activities in each of those phases and really get those dialed in before you start adding anything else onto your plate. Then step number 4, picking your platforms. Less is more when it comes to where you're getting visible. If you're, again, a solopreneur coach, yes, you could be sharing things everywhere, and you'll hear lots of people talk about repurpose on every single platform, and there's lots of apps to let you do that. But the truth is that every platform has the type of content that it prefers. It's slightly different on different platforms. Something that works really well on Instagram might not perform that well on something like LinkedIn or TikTok or YouTube. So yes, you can share things, but you really want to think about what's my main platform where I'm going to be showing up, and do that really well before you start thinking about sharing it everywhere or repurposing it everywhere and putting more work on your plate. So where are your ideal clients hanging out? Where do you like hanging out? And what's the sort of content that's doing well in that place? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it on Pinterest? Wherever you want to grow your business, that's where you want to be focused. So pick 1 or 2 places that you can show up consistently and double down, and don't think about spreading yourself too thin or trying to repurpose everywhere until you've got that working for yourself, and then maybe you can outsource that repurposing. You really want to be showing up with the full force of your message in less places rather than spreading yourself too thin and showing up half-heartedly in lots of different places. And then step 5 is then thinking about the rhythms in your business and the rituals and the things that you're repeating every day, so your habits. And this is going to take the overwhelm away from yourself. Once you've got clear on all those different steps and you know what 1 or 2 things you're planning to do in each of those 3 phases of your funnel, then you want to think about a cadence and a rhythm to how you're showing up. How often are you doing the actions for those different phases, whether it's you've got a freebie, well, how many times a week are you going to be sharing that freebie? If it's creating a blog post or a podcast, how often are you going to be publishing one? Again, if you've created a series that you're driving people to, how often are you going to be creating short form content that's driving them to the longer form content, or repurposing that message again? And have some goals around it. So you might be thinking, I want to be booking 4 discovery calls every week, so I need to be making invites. I'm going to aim to make invites into that in the DMs 10 times a week. And then you can assess the results according to what actions you've taken. So you've got the action of, I'm going to make 10 invites for discovery calls, and I'm hoping to get 5 booked. And then out of those 5, I'm hoping to book 2 clients. So you've got an action goal and you've got a result goal, and you can compare them both and you can see if the action's resulting in the goal. And then if it's not, that's when you can think, okay, do I need to be making more invites, or do I need to change the way I'm making that invite? And you're not just scattergun going out there wondering and hoping, is this going to work? You've got a really clear process to work backwards from your goal of how many clients you want, how many discovery calls you want, and then how many new people need to be hearing about your business for you to be able to make those invites. So those are your 5 steps. Just to go through them again, you want to get really clear on your offer, define your messaging, design your client journey, pick your platforms, and then get clear on your weekly and monthly habits and schedule for putting that content out, and making sure you're covering off the 3 stages of that client journey to attract them in, nurture them, and sell to them. And when you put these 5 steps together, it can stop feeling like you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and you've got this scattergun approach, and can start feeling more strategic, they're much more spacious and effective. And to create this life first business with a really simple marketing strategy, there's 3 things that you really want to be focused on. They all begin with R, which is nice and handy. But you want to be focused on repeat. So repeating that message again and again, repeating the same actions again and again, not thinking that you need to reinvent the wheel all the time. Then refine. So looking at the data, looking at the results from those actions and refining and tweaking, and then repurpose. So once you've got clear on those pieces of the puzzles that work and convert strangers into leads, into buyers, then it's about repurposing those things. Like I said, that content that people need to hear to be ready for your offer, just thinking about how you can say that same thing in different ways, how you can keep them engaged, but offering them the same core message. And maybe you're packaging that up in different ways, or you're using different short form pieces of content to drive them to that long form content, so that you're not reinventing the wheel all the time but you're repeating, repurposing, and refining what you're doing. If you want to dive deeper into this, particularly on that step 1 and 2, getting really clear on your offer and your messaging, the foundation of your business, the things that are going to make all the other things work, then make sure you join the Magnetic Offer Formula Masterclass. It's happening this week. If you can't attend live, there will be a replay. And we'll be walking through the blueprint to create your signature offer so that it's irresistible and magnetic to your ideal clients. And if you've already got your offer but things aren't working for you, then come along, because this is going to help you see how to refine it as well. This is your chance to create a plan that works for your life and brings in consistent clients. So make sure you save your seat, head to the link, and I will see you then. Thank you so much for tuning in and being here, and I'll catch you again next week. Take care. Before you go, don't forget to save your seat for the upcoming live training, the Magnetic Offer Formula. It's going to be 60 minutes of actionable strategies to help you package, price, and position your coaching in a way that makes it irresistible. So click the link in the show notes or head to leoniebusinesscoach.com and click the banner at the top of the page to save your seat.